Games come and go all the time, especially in today's day and age, which means that games that even you like can start to die off and bite the dust. Whether it was bad updates or just bad timing, games can easily become shells of their former self, and sadly just a thing of the past, a memory. That being said, this is 5 games that died too soon. It's more of a sadder topic, but let's get into it. Coming off here at number 5, we have Among Us, the game where you could run around on a spaceship and kill anybody you wanted while trying not to get caught and voted off the ship. This game had 2020 in a chokehold for a good couple of months. Everywhere you go, everybody will be playing this game. At school, at home, everywhere. Your grandma was probably playing this game. And let's not forget the streamers that this game helped blow to the top, like Disguised Toast, Sly Cooper, and Corpse Husband, just to name a few. So with this game being so popular in 2020, what happened? With an all-time peak of 438,000 players, the game now sits around 8,000 players at the highest point of the day on a good day. And with this game losing more and more players every month and every day, I don't see this game making a return unless maybe they do something big like add voice chat. And while Among Us I would consider as a dead game, there is a reason it's sitting at number 5, and that's because it did have 2020 in a chokehold for a good couple of months. You could even argue up to the full year, while a lot of these other games didn't last that long, nor did they get as popular as Among Us did. Among Us will always have that spot in a lot of people's hearts that you can look back on it and have fun playing it, but you probably don't want to go back to it again. Maybe you've got yourself burnt out, or maybe the game just isn't as fun anymore. Either way, Among Us is no longer with us. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's move on. Moving along here to number 4, we have V Rising. V Rising is a vampire survival game where you go and you can collect items and resources to build up your base and to make your stronghold even better, with dedicated servers to PvE and PvP. Back when this game first came out, I remember playing this game a lot. The idea of a vampire survival game kind of sounds like a really cool concept, and in retrospect it is. But what went wrong? With a lot of hype built up around the vampire survival game, V Rising had a pretty decent launch, clocking in over 150,000 players at an all-time peak. It was a pretty popular game to say the least. But that was in 2022. 2 years later, the max player count in a day reaches around 4,500, and an average is around 3,000. That means V Rising lost over 98% of its player base in only 2 years. What happened for this game to lose so many players in such a short amount of time? The community seems to agree that once you hit in-game, there's just no more for you to do. More content needs to be added, and when it does add, people do come back a little bit, but nothing like it once was before. Players have also been coming out and they're upset that the game is still technically in early access, but it does have 3 DLC expansion packs. And to dig a little deeper, I've even talked to the moderators themselves personally. They believe the game will be okay, that this is just how things are. Players will come back, and they don't expect the players to stay indefinitely, especially when the game is technically not even released. But who knows? I enjoyed the game. I didn't think it was bad. If you like vampires or survival games, maybe even give it a shot yourself, you might enjoy it. Maybe even one day, the game will get some life pumping back into it from the player base, but until then, I guess we just gotta see where the road takes us. Coming in here at number 3, we have the game SOS. SOS is a weird game because it started off really good and a really cool concept, and then it just got changed to a completely different game halfway through its life. And what I mean by this is when the game first came out, it was more of a reality TV show game where you and other contestants had to go to an island and find relics to be able to leave the island while fighting off these little monkey creatures that were trying to kill you. And unlike a lot of other games at the time, it actually allowed you to team up with other contestants on the island to try to make it off the island together, but they also needed a relic to leave, which often led to betrayal and just a lot of funny moments and a lot of good gameplay. It even had walkie-talkies and proximity chat for you wanting to team up with other people, and just allowing the community to really engage with each other into this game that made it far beyond just straight PvP and added another layer of depth to it. It was all going pretty well until later on they just decided to turn it into another battle royale. The battle royale itself wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't SOS. They took so many classic features out of the game just to try to go to the hype that Fortnite and Apex had, and going from a game that had such unique features and just a unique concept in general to another copy and paste battle royale felt like a really big slap in the face to the community and all the fans that supported the game. With the whole rebranding of the entire game that nobody wanted nor asked for, the game inevitably died back in November of 2018, and this sucks because it was a fun game before they did the whole rebranding on it, and a lot of the community was begging just for them to reverse it back to the old game, and there were talks about bringing the game back, but for now it seems like this game is going to be stuck in the grave, but we can all hope that one day it does make a return, better than ever. Because I do remember having a lot of good times on this game and a lot of funny moments, and this game definitely didn't deserve what happened to it, but sadly, I'm not sure if it'll ever get the justice it deserves. All we can really do is wait and see if a company ever picks it up, but who knows. Rolling on into that number 2 spot is gonna have to be The Isle. For those of you who don't know, The Isle is like a dinosaur simulator kind of game, where you could play as multiple types of dinosaurs, starting off as a newborn, even coming from eggs that other players have laid as the same type of dinosaur you are, kind of becoming their baby in a way. And from there, your main goal is just to try to survive until adulthood. You run around, you eat, you drink, you stalk prey. Depending on the type of dinosaur you pick is a completely different style of gameplay. For a while, this game was really fun to play because you and some friends could hop on and become any kind of dinosaur you really wanted to, and try your hardest to survive, whether that's trying to scavenge for food or trying to stalk your prey, or even just trying to avoid other players because they will kill you. And that's just the gameplay side of things. I'd even argue that the graphics of the game is very beautiful in its own right, because while you do find yourself running around a lot, it does give you a good chance to just take in the scenery. While in the beginning it was very fun and it had its potential and it had its moments, the game definitely had issues. And what I mean by this is as the game went on, people realized that it takes a ridiculously amount of time for dinosaurs to reach their full adulthood. For example, the T-Rex class, which is one of the strongest, if not the strongest class in the game, took 6.5 hours from hatchling to reach adulthood. And it's not one of these games where you can kind of just have it idling in the background, because you can be killed by other dinosaurs or people, or just even starving and dehydration. Which led to an even bigger problem coming into the pay-to-win servers, where instead of playing the game normally and aging your dinosaur, you can pay to have a dinosaur fully aged for you already and just spawn it into the game. This, along with terrible server lag, bad moderation, and just not enough content for the game, drove a lot of the casual player base away. The players could put up with the long timers and even the pay-to-win servers, but where a lot of them seem to draw the line is the time between updates. Updates would only come every couple months, and that's if you're lucky. Even with the Verma being out, which is just another version of the game, the player base still isn't happy. They want more content and fixes, and with updates coming out so scarcely, far and few in between, they just don't seem to get that, and a lot of people quit because of the false promises and false hope that the devs give the players. And it's sad because there's not a lot of dinosaur games out there, let alone ones that had the potential that this game had, and how fun it really was for a while. And seeing how the devs treated the game and how the game is just dying off now, it's sad to see. Hopefully one day we get another dinosaur game that fills that T-Rex sized hole in our hearts that we desperately need. Because while the Isle had its chance, it's losing players every month, more and more, and I'm afraid it's too far gone. With little to no players left, it only has a couple thousand players active at peak times, and it's really just a shell of what it used to be. Coming in for an honorable mention, I gotta have Splitgate here. Splitgate's a great game, kinda gives me Halo vibes, but it just didn't quite make the cut. I felt like it didn't have enough hype built around it at the time, but it was definitely a game worth playing. Though the graphics weren't great, especially being released in 2019, it looked like a game that was made for the PS3 or the Xbox 360. The gameplay, in my opinion, was phenomenal. It was like Portal mixed with Halo, and it had its own little uniqueness that just made it different. Sad to see it kind of just fall into despair. Nobody really talks about it, nothing really happens with it, but once again, it did make the list. It was a good game though, but let's move on. Coming in here at number 1, we have the whole Sly Cooper franchise. This is a weird one because unlike the other games, the community around this franchise isn't dead. We actually want another game, but the developers over at Sucker Punch Studio already said that they're not going to be touching the game anymore. And it's been over 10 years, the last game releasing back in 2013. And I know I was talking specifically about like certain games in this video, but Sly Cooper had to take this spot because I feel like it just died too soon. They quit making games and they quit working with Sly Cooper at such an early time, and I feel like it would do so good in today's market, and just especially with all the upgrades we have mechanically with the new computers and the PS5s and stuff like that. Even if they just remastered the games and brought them to the new systems, I think it would be a massive success. Honor Amongst Thieves, Thieves in Times, Band of Thieves, they were all good games. Let alone if they made a new game, I think would personally be better than a lot of games that have been coming out recently. I remember playing Sly Cooper back on the PS2 and the PS3, and it just blew my little mind. Back when I was younger, this was really one of the first games that I got into, and it just kind of opened up a whole new door to me in gaming. So for that, it does hold a special place in my heart, and I know a lot of other people do too, because the games did do pretty well, and it's quite shocking that they don't want to work on it anymore, because it's been over 11 years and people are still begging and just wanting more of this. And you'd think it'd be a perfect opportunity to do so, but instead, they'd rather let the game die out and just not make any more. Fingers crossed crossed that they do bring it back though, especially with the talks of exclusive games going away, which would just open up a whole other audience for it and even more sales. So it just seems like a win-win opportunity. But with all that being said, this was 5 games that died too soon. I'm CloudRaids, and if y'all enjoyed the video, let me know down in the comments below. If you didn't enjoy it, still let me know. Even if y'all have some video ideas you think I should do, I'm all open for it. I'm all ears. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions below. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day. I love y'all. Maybe have a good night.